It is a moment we have been all waiting for. The Bulgarian tech ecosystem has its first unicorn. The fintech company Payhawk reached a valuation of $1 billion after extending its Series B with an additional injection of $100 million. This news comes only 3 months after their last historic milestone. Last November, Payhawk raised the second largest Series B round for a B2B company in Central and Eastern Europe. This event has a deep meaning for the local ecosystem because it will pave the road to success for many other startups in Bulgaria and the region. To tell you the story behind the numbers, today we meet with Hristo Borisov and Konstantin Djengozov, co-founders of Payhawk. Hi guys! First of all, congratulations from the whole Recursive team. We're super proud of you. And how does it feel to run a unicorn company now?
Constantly. Pretty great. I mean, with great power comes great responsibility, I guess. So
I think I
we're
heard
like
that.
the flagship company of the region now. So we need to live up to the highest standard now.
The crown is heavy, definitely. Yeah. Did you actually expect this when you started with Payhawk? Was it part of the plan to be a unicorn company one day?
Well, the part of the plan was always to try to identify a big market opportunity and to do the most of it, right? And whether we will become a unicorn or not really depended on the addressable market we were targeting. And we had an idea that this is going to be a big market and we're going to be able to build a big company. We didn't know how big. And what has happened over the past 4 years is that the market has been accelerating and increasing very fast. A lot of companies started looking for solutions like Payhawk. Started realizing that banks are not the only means to manage company payments, and there is a lot more efficient way. So definitely we didn't target this to be the case. Our target was to really identify large enough market and to build a solution for it, and it turned out this to be even bigger than we imagined, because today any company that has more than, let's say, 5-6 employees that are spending money has a great need for a solution like Payhawk.
The unicorn valuation was actually made in the context of your Series B extended round, right? And it was only 3 months after you just closed a Series B round of 112 million. This is actually quite soon. What can you share about the deal? Why so fast? And what can you share also about the new investors?
In terms of the deal, our idea was that, in general, again, we were not seeking to do any kind of funding round. We have been speaking to investors, a lot of investors that we couldn't fit for the Series B that we did in November. Some of them were extremely excited and wanted to participate. And during December, we initially rejected the idea, but one thing that started happening on the market is we started seeing, what's happening with the public markets. The situation with, Europe right now, what's happening in Ukraine was something also that we considered. And we decided that we have an extremely aggressive plan this year. And to meet this plan, we really didn't want to be in a situation where, we actually had no margin for error. Which means, we are now expanding in multiple countries, aggressively hiring. We're hiring more than 211 people. So we wanted to make sure that, if the state of the public market and the economy really is not in the great position to do fundraising end of the year, we would rather, take money right now and just focus on the plan we have had so far. But we much more, in a situation where we don't have to step out of the gas if some things don't work. So we do have a margin for error, and we can continue to be aggressive and to be pushing hard on the markets. And for the new investor?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have a cushion in the bank, like you have additional 100 million in the bank. And so, as Hristo mentioned, the timing is right. We're seeing, especially now in the market, that it's very hard to fundraise. So the market timing is pretty good. And also the mix of the investors is really adding a lot of value to the company. So this is really the right step.
So Lightspeed Ventures were leading the round. Catalyst is investing for the first time in a Bulgarian company, right? How did you manage to convince them?
Well, they had to convince us first.
Nice.
So that we were open to consider adding more funds in the company. So first of all, for Lightspeed, one of the reasons for why we choose them was that they have an amazing portfolio of companies in the US, an amazing track record. They have done more than 400 scale-up investments, more than 15 IPOs. They have extremely strong partner team that can help with recruiting and so on for the US market. This was something that, on our cap table, we had a lot of funds that had European roots and have been helping us conquer the European market. But we just had, one or two funds that were based in the US, and we really liked the combination of having Lightspeed as a US investor, having in mind that we would like to focus on the US market by the end of the year. So that was one part for them. For the Endeavor Catalyst, we joined the Endeavor network in January, and Endeavor Catalyst is their VC arm that only invests into Endeavor-backed companies. So it was, an opportunity for us to bring them in. They have an amazing network. One of the best entrepreneurs out there are part of that network, and having access, to people that would be extremely hard to get to otherwise, to have a conversation for 30 minutes and to discuss different problems and challenges they have faced by scaling up in so many geographies is extremely helpful for us, and that's why we brought them to the deal.
So again, you picked investors according to your strategy and geographical expansion, and how such investors can actually help you roll out the strategy in the specific markets, right?
Yes.
So you mentioned that you have quite an aggressive plans. I think one of the things that you mentioned so far in the press release was that you're opening offices in Europe, but also in the US. I'm wondering, how would this affect the team here in Sofia? To what extent do you stay like a Bulgarian-based company, or are you moving the headquarters, or how do you plan that? What does make sense for your business?
Well, I think we'll always be a Bulgarian-based company because all of us are Bulgarians, and we're pretty much vested in the ecosystem here. But we'll probably do a lot of traveling. So this is one of the things that's essentially going to happen. We need to travel to all the different offices, set operations, hire the right team. But always we'll remain vested in the Bulgarian ecosystem, and we'll continue to be a proud Bulgarian company.
The partner at Lightspeed Ventures, he shared that he was pretty amazed of the pace that you're developing the Payhawk platform. I wanted to ask you, how do you manage that? What is the secret of such a fast development on a technical level, on a product level?
I think the secret on our side is experience. So all of us are coming from background on building products in high-spaced environment with Telerik. All of the engineers that we're hiring are pretty senior people. We also have a unique way of developing the product. We have split our engineering team into functions, current and future. People that are on the current set of things, they work in a Kanban mode. So they deliver things instantly for customers on any problem they have right now. So anything that is, let's say, one engineer can deliver in a week, or up to 2 weeks. And then the rest of the company, as an engineering, has work on the future stream. So the future stream is focused on really making the big strides as a company, making the big leaps for new features. So they work in a 3 months kind of a time frame where we try to protect them from any noise that's happening with the fast-paced growth that we have. So in this way, you have one set of engineers who can forget that they're in a company that's growing 20% month over month, and they can really focus on bringing a big quality feature, while part of the organization can focus on the immediate problems that customers have. We also try to keep our engineering strategy extremely flat and horizontal. We don't have any kind of middle layers. We have engineers organized in a group of 3 people called pods without having a manager. These are kind of a single unit on which we plan. And we do have, really big product management and UX team. So all the requirements that the engineers work on have been tested with customers over multiple iterations, so that when we start working on something, we are absolutely sure that this is exactly the requirement that customers need. This kind of fast-paced is one of the reasons why these companies, those investors were interested in us. We started talking to them more than a year ago, and we have been keeping in touch. And when every 3 or 6 months, when we were meeting with them, when they were seeing with the pace, it was completely different product. And they were just amazed how we are able, at the time with 12 engineers, to deliver something that our competitors needed 100 plus engineers.
Wow.
So that was kind of one of the reasons why they made the decision. The other hypothesis that they had is that they have looked at all the competitive players on the market, absolutely everybody. They had a chance to participate in some of our competitors' deals, and decided not to because they wanted to do one investment in the company that has the biggest potential to own the market and to become the biggest one in the category. And that was one of the reasons why they made the decision to invest.
Is the fast pace of product development also related to the adoption of the market? How are the market reacting actually to the platform?
Yeah, I mean, we're growing with the market. We initially started with serving the lower, like the bottom of the market, like the startups, the small companies, and we have a very different value prop for them. But as we're maturing as an organization and as a product, we're starting to move upwards towards the more enterprise type of businesses. So I can say our product is evolving along with our value prop and our ambitions.
And I just want to say that right now, every feature, everything we throw at the market is market is pulling us right now. That is. I think that's the situation in which you want to get your company as a startup, in a situation where there is a market pull. So you're not pushing the market, you're not trying to create the market. You're dragged by the market to deliver certain things, and as soon as those are delivered, there is a market for them. And that is kind of really the I would say. Exactly where the company gets to a growth stage, where right now you need to have a lot of resources to deliver things because you know that there is a market for it and companies are ready to buy it.
Amazing. Let's talk about unicorns because it's been this mythical animal here in the Bulgarian ecosystem. We've been waiting for a long time to have the first ever Bulgarian unicorn. I think in some way we expected that you would be that, but why does it matter actually? I mean, it's a valuation, it's a recognition for your business success, for your potential, but why does it matter for the ecosystem?
Well, I think there are a lot of resources around, the unicorns in different ecosystems and the impact that they had. And even though we didn't have our, unicorn so far, we were fortunate enough to be in an extremely well maturing ecosystem for the companies, for the startup companies. We started getting a lot of, venture capital funding, a lot of entrepreneurs willing to start companies, a lot of experienced people. Having ideas and building products. And I think one of the reasons why we didn't have a chance to have a unicorn is not because of the quality of the startups or the ideas that we had. It was just the function of the fundraising. And that's something that at the end of the day is, you wouldn't get to a unicorn status if you cannot grow fast and if you cannot be able to attract external investments of hundreds of millions. And I think that was something that matured. We started seeing companies, for example, like GTM Hub, like Office R&D, which were when we were about 2 employees on a desk here. They were already, closing serious rounds with investors that were outside of Bulgaria. So we started seeing that, investors are being a lot more open to invest in tech companies here. And we put a strategy that we hope to be winning, and part of our strategy was to really solve a big problem. The second part of the strategy was really staff top talent, and we knew that if we can attract top talent, if we can focus on a big market, and if we can also attract at least one extremely well-known brand name as an investor. And we were fortunate enough obviously we had 11 ventures as an investor in Bulgaria, but then on our seed round, Early Bird, the Digital East Fund invested in us, and they were also an investor in UiPath.
Yes.
And we were already sensing that we are getting into the footsteps of somebody that has been there. Well, obviously that's not a guarantee, but things started aligning one after the other. You just need to trust the process, and you need to be just persistent enough to get to that stage.
Do you expect that now that we have this first unicorn, the perception of foreign investors would also change towards other companies in the ecosystem?
I think this is a huge milestone for the region, because we'll see more and more of the well-established VC funds focusing on this area and trying to find the next Payhawk or the next UiPath. And at the same time, young entrepreneurs or someone that is just starting up is going to look up and say, hey, these guys did it. Why not us? Why not us be the next unicorn, first decacorn from this region? So I think fast forward from now, let's say in the next 10 years, we'll see more and more companies that will be unicorns and that will be born from this region.
So yeah, I think it's also very true what you're saying, that it's not only about the perception of foreign investors, but it's also somehow the confidence and the thinking big of founders here in the region who, seeing your example, can now believe that, hey, we can actually build like a really good global company from here. Wow. So you mentioned Telerik, and you're pretty connected to the ecosystem that Telerik has developed in its organization. Basically, Payhawk was kicked off also by the success of Telerik, and it's been now 8 years since its exit to Progress. How long do you think we would need to have the next unicorn?
I think the cycle is getting shorter and shorter. People are gaining more and more confidence that they can build a unicorn. I mean, the goal is not to build a unicorn, but to build a company that really solves a big problem, and then having a unicorn status is a result of that. But I think people are more and more building a confidence that we have the right talent. We have everything you need in terms of initial infrastructure within the ecosystem, in terms of VC funds, to build these type of companies, and more more established VC funds are going to be looking into investing in this type of endeavors in the region. So I think all the setup is there. You just need to wait some time, but it's definitely happening.
You obviously also have taken part of the culture that was in Telerik, and my question would be, do you think that you're going to replicate the Telerik effect now with the Payhawk effect on the ecosystem? How will your success then affect, those who are around you, the ecosystem around you?
Well, we really hope so. I mean, we are designing the company in a way where it is 100% transparency, it is 100% teamwork, and 100% ownership mentality, and allowing employees to feel entrepreneurial. So the idea is not to just have 2, 3, 5 people on the leadership team who know how decisions are made and who are aware of what we are doing. It's really to bring this to be something that everybody is part of. And that's why we're keeping the organization extremely flat. We don't have unnecessary, managers. That's why we are trying to also keep the organization extremely horizontal, so that we can accommodate this growth and people can get exposed to, at the end of the day, it's not a rocket science, to build companies and to, conquer markets. You need to have convictions that you can do it. You need to have the right approach, with customers so that you can actually understand exactly their point. You need to have, some, product mentality to be able to address their problem. And from then on, it is just really hard work, people are seeing this on a daily basis in the company. We have great engineers, great product managers, we have great UX people, we have great people in sales, and all of these guys are seeing that it is, obviously it is extremely hard. This is the hardest thing we have ever done. But it is achievable and it's doable. So I think that is kind of what we want to show to these guys, and this was exactly what we saw on Telerik. We were, from Laros, based in Sofia, competing with companies in the US, in Europe, in Australia, and so on. Mm-hmm. We got to see that it is possible, mm-hmm. and I think that is the key thing. And I think the same thing with the fundraising. Now that we were able to get to that status, I don't think it's going to be hard for other companies to be, as aggressive as us to be able to get to that stage. And hopefully in the next 2 years, we're going to have more than 5 unicorns, which would be a really great achievement for the whole ecosystem. So I think at the end of the day, it would be really sad if we are the only one that achieves that, and then for the next 10 years, nothing. So I think it would be great if other companies are able to do so. And on our side, what we are trying to do is not only show that it is possible, we were also actively working with some other startups in Bulgaria to help them improve their pitch deck, connect them with investors, even some investors that said initially no to us. We know right now that a lot of funds have a big respect for us because we're a big anti-portfolio company to a lot of funds. Anti-portfolio is a company that you didn't invest into and it was successful.
What is the best message, by the way, that you get from, a fund in which you're an anti-portfolio company who didn't invest? What was the best message so far? Can you share?
Yeah, I mean, I was, actually this investor was one of the first investors in Spotify. Okay. They as a fund have seen some really, really good successful stories. And we were very close to do a round with them for the Series A. But for some reason, I think they had a little bit more complicated way of looking at the market. And at the end of the day, they decided not to invest. And I was chatting with them a few months back, even before this round. And, they heard from somewhere that we're going to be announcing a big round. And I asked them for a favor to make an introduction to one of their portfolio companies, and they didn't reply for 5 days. And then they replied and said, we have been tossing and, in bed all night for the last 5 days. So we just need to say, obviously we were wrong. But that's on a daily basis. I mean, one of the ideas we have is in the next few months to really put a wall of all the rejections that we had somewhere here in the campus. Just as an example of having 60 messages from well-known investors telling you why you're not going to be able to succeed it. I think there is no better satisfaction to be able to achieve something in the face of so many rejections. So we want to post that as a kind of a wall of fame. Obviously we will not name the investors, but we definitely would like to show to the team that, especially in sales, you get rejections every day. Yes. You're prospecting, you're trying to close customers and so on. You shouldn't give up. And I think that's the key message. At the end of the day, to us, success is not whether we are 1 million, 1 billion, or a decacorn. To us, the success is getting to the best outcome possible with the resources and in the market we are. And if we are able to become the biggest company in that market, that should be our dream. Whether that's going to be 1 billion, 5 billion, 10 billion, we don't know. That depends on the market, and that doesn't depend on us, obviously. But we should do everything possible to do everything we can with the resources we have.
So you mentioned hard work, you mentioned don't give up as a mentality. I'm thinking now that it's not only engineering talent. I mean, it's obviously also business acumen that you guys share together with Boyko, who is, now not today here. But tell me about your role from, the very start as co-founders, where you were, operationally involved in everything that you are doing as a team, as a company. How did this role change over time, or what did you learn in this transition? What is your best, insight as leaders and managers so far?
Yeah, I think the main challenge is to be better at what you do, because you start with something and then you need to be super agile and need to improve over time. So obviously your biggest obstacle is you. You need to change mentally, you need to be super flexible, you need to be super adaptive. Initially when we started, we were doing everything operationally, and we were super fast in doing all different cycles of iterating even on our business model. But now as we grow more and more into a larger company, we're outsourcing that to people that can handle this workload, and we're more setting the strategic direction. But in any case, it's a transition that the main obstacle is actually your mentality and your ability to be more agile in your thinking, in your mindset, in hiring new people, into onboarding them, delegating, and making sure everything still works.
Hristo, what is your biggest insight so far as a manager and leader?
Well, I think the most important thing is to really surround yourself with people that have seen other people going through that stage. And I think that is one of the most helpful things for investors, because they're able to tell you, they're able to tell you, hey, you should not be doing this right now, right? Every 6 months, the company is changing significantly. So every 6 months, I have a completely different job, and it is extremely important, with investors to be able to have a fair discussion on, what is the role today, where the company is, right? What are the priorities? What you should focus on? What you should give up? What should somebody else do? Where you should hire other people to do this thing. Because at the end of the day, the curse and the bliss with being an entrepreneur is that you're used to owning your own future and building things yourself, right? So how do you scale that? And I think that is exactly the maturity. And that's exactly the role of the investors, to actually be able to tell you those blank spots and tell you, well, that was, you did an extremely good job at this, 6 months ago, but that should not be your role right now. You should think about, delegating or doing this, or hiring, people that are seasoned at that, and so on. And I think that's a very key part. You need to understand that who you were 6 months ago has nothing to do with who you are today and who you need to be in 6 months for your team. At the end of the day, you really don't want to be the bottleneck for the company. And but at the same time, you need to design the organization well, so that at the end of the day, you don't go from holding everything in your hands to just dropping it, right? And say, well, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to do something else now, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why we like to bring, and I think this is one of, to be honest, 100% one of the reasons why we decided to join the EndeavorNet. To have exactly access to people who went through this journey, and people who were with them, who can actually share, their thinking, how things changed as they grew, and not only for them, how the roles of their people, their leadership team changed. Because right now, if we're hiring for a leadership role, whether it's a C-level or a VP level, one of the first things I want to do is spend a time to meet 5-6 other people in that role in other companies, to just benchmark and understand what they do and how this is going to apply to our organization, so that we know when we start the search for these people what we're looking for. And I think this constant benchmarking with different people and different parts of the organization should be a constant thing of the leadership team.
I think the main transition is you start as a rock star that can do everything on their own, but then you move into a phase where you need to empower other people to take, to take them to the next level, build the strategic layout, and then someone else to actually do the operational groundwork.
I have a great respect to people who manage this transition because it's like a totally different role. It's one thing to do stuff your own and to be good at that. It's totally another, to empower people to learn how to do it themselves.
I think the key thing is mentality, right? You need to just say, yes, do I want to have a small organization in which I call all the shots, or do I want to be part of something extremely big that is well beyond my control, and I can, at the end of the day, only, let's say, control the narrative rather than, the whole operations, right? And at the end of the day, some people like that, some people don't, and I think the majority of the companies that don't grow is just because of that mentality. They just don't want to grow. They just don't want to give up. They just don't want to open. And that's what, suffocates them and prevents them from growing. And if you go with this growth mentality, and in order to get there, you need to have very low ego, right? You need to be very humble and to just say, I can be good at this, but I need to let other people make that decision, and let them, with your knowledge, let them do things, fail, and help them realize their mistakes, because they're going to fail once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and then they're going to start to learn and to do things on their own. I think that's one of the reasons why we see some companies, getting stuck to a certain degree.
I'm sure it's still hard to watch others, make mistakes that you already know. But as you said, it's, I guess, very important also to surround yourself with people who have, a similar issues.
I think if you want to stay sane when the organization is growing so fast, last year during that time we were about 27 employees. We are 100 now, and we will be 300 at the end of the year. I think if you try to be everywhere, that's not, you can't sleep, you cannot do it. I mean, at the end of the day, that's another thing that, for example, we're doing at the company. We have an objective and key result. We first of all give to all of our employees 30 days paid leave globally, regardless of what the local thing is. Usually it is way less than that. And then right now, one of the goals for the company is to utilize at least 70% of that, which means that at the end of the day, we need to be able to grow even when people go on vacation, even when people are absent, even when things are, not everybody's, 100% in the office all the time, because this is where burnout happens, and this is where this is not sustainable. And at the end of the day, even though we are growing extremely fast compared to some of our competitors, I would say that we are trying to do it in a sustainable way. And I think that is the only way to be able to stay sane.
If you have to share like a life hack of how do you manage to, stay sane at this pace of development, what would it be?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know, be present, spend time with your family, and just try to get some good night's sleep, and just focus on what you're currently doing. I mean, if you're spending time with your family, spend time with your family. If you're working on something super important, then work on that.
I think one thing that I try to do is, when the pace is very fast and things are happening and not always getting to the right direction, I try to slow down myself and just to slow down my thinking and to say, okay, why am I frustrated? Why am unsatisfied with how things are going? Just spend some time to reflect where you are, what you're achieving as a team. Think a little bit more about what is the thing that bothers you, and then try to reflect on it and again get back to it with a different mentality. And the other thing is really spend as much as possible time on vacations, doing team buildings, just the rest of obviously work is one thing, but being able to enjoy that is super important to us. That's why our culture is a lot about having a lot of events with people, meeting people. This year we are going to be announcing a world travel program so that our employees can spend 2 weeks in any of our offices on the expense of the company, so that they can spend time with people that are in Barcelona, Berlin, Sofia, Paris, London, and so on. And I think that's part of the culture. We need to see each other more often, and this is something we missed during the pandemic. This is something that we really believe that at the end of the day, one thing that you cannot copy is this kind of a culture where people spend time outside of work, talking about things outside of work. I think this just improves the whole dynamics and culture of the company.
As you were, sharing about the programs that you've planned for the team, I'm sure that a lot of people will be now thinking, "Hey, I would like to work for Payhawk." Tell me, what kind of people are you looking for?
Everything possible. So one thing that's first of all, obviously we do have technical positions, but we have a lot of people that we're looking for: sales, customer support, customer success, business development, finance, and also we are looking for a lot of people that don't know what they want, right? They just have for example, just how things happen for them was not exactly the best way in life, right? Okay. They have great education, they know languages, they have extremely high IQ and EQ, and we have hired a lot of people like that, and we know where these people can fit in the organization, even though they're not coming as a specialist in something. We sometimes it's actually better to get those people who for one reason or another went through different career stages, once we meet them, we start to realize these people can be great for something within our team, within our company, and we have hired a lot of those people as well.
Wow. You were smiling.
Yeah. It's a different approach basically to hiring. So I mean, if we see a top talent, even if we don't have something very specific that I can work on, and we think this person is really going to be a good fit in the company overall, we'll go for it.
Yeah, one example I can give is with two of our product managers. So we met them in the American University in Bulgaria. They were managing the Elevate program, and I met with them and I told them, guys, why don't you become product managers? And they said, I don't know, what is a product manager? And I said, you're going to be great at this.
How did you know, by the way?
Well, first of all, I mean, because of their education. So both of them studied business and computer science. Okay. They had double degrees at the university. They were running a course for entrepreneurs, and they were very proactive. And I was seeing that these guys have a lot of energy, a lot of passion, very low ego, very humble guys. And right now, these guys are literally running the company. Wow. For less than a year since they joined. So I think that is just one example where you try to look for talent, and for us sometimes experience can be even a disadvantage. Mm-hmm. If you have too much experience of something, maybe you're not going to be able to adapt to our way of working and our way of doing things. So we're looking for this raw talent. That we can surround ourselves. So people that are motivated, eager, and just they're getting into this job with understanding that they're not great at this, and together we get to a stage where they can excel.
That's very typical for growth mindset, right? Knowing that you don't know, and then be motivated to learn about it. Hey, guys, I mean, thank you really much. I think this conversation would be very helpful to entrepreneurs. I'm also thinking that a lot of founders would be looking for your advice, for your guidance and mentoring. What would be the best way for others, to get in touch with you and, I don't know, learn about exactly these stages that they're in and they don't know what their role is really at this point.
Our careers page?
Yeah. Cool. Cool. So thanks for your time. I know that you're super busy. Thanks also for welcoming us this time at Campus 6 here. It's
Welcome.
an amazing place. And I wish you all the best. You have a lot of, you have ambitious plans for the future. We will definitely keep track of you very closely. And best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.